The smell of smoke reached Anita before the sound of the alarm. She was scrubbing the marble floors of the Grand Adeyemi mansion when the faint, acrid scent curled into her nostrils. At first, she thought it was from the kitchen where Madam sometimes forgot food on the stove. But this was different, thicker, darker, and accompanied by a distant crackling sound. Anita froze, sponge in hand, and listened. Somewhere upstairs, someone was coughing, a deep, panicked cough. Then came the shrill cry of a boy. Her heart leapt. David. David Adeyemi, 7 years old, son of one of the richest businessmen in Lagos, was supposed to be in his room watching cartoons. Without thinking, Anita dropped the sponge, tore off her cleaning gloves, and bolted up the sweeping staircase 2 steps at a time. Upstairs, the smoke was thicker. It burned her throat, made her eyes water. She covered her nose with the edge of her apron and called out, "David. Where are you?" The boy's muffled voice came from the far end of the corridor. "Auntie Anita. Help." She ran toward the sound. The door to his room was hot when she touched it. Smoke billowed from the edges. Inside, she could hear him coughing, crying. Anita's mind raced. She grabbed a heavy vase from the hallway table and smashed the doorknob. With a kick, the door swung open. Flames danced along the curtains, the carpet smoldered, and the air was so thick with smoke she could barely see. David was curled up on the bed, eyes wide with terror. She ran in, scooped him into her arms, and pressed his face into her apron to shield him from the smoke. "Hold on to me," she whispered. The heat was unbearable. Her hair clung to her face with sweat, and her lungs screamed for air. She turned toward the hallway, but a beam from the ceiling had fallen, blocking the way. The fire roared behind her, advancing fast. Her eyes darted to the window. They were on the 2nd floor, but it was the only way out. She kicked it open, shards of glass scattering. Below, the lawn stretched out, but it was a hard drop. Anita wrapped her arms tighter around David. "Close your eyes," she said, and jumped. They landed hard on the grass, pain shooting through her ankle. She ignored it, clutching David as he cried into her shoulder. Within minutes, the fire brigade arrived. Flames consumed the upper part of the house, but David was safe. Madam Adeyemi ran out from the garden, her makeup smeared from tears. She grabbed her son from Anita's arms and held him tight. "My baby," she cried, kissing his face. Then she turned to Anita. You saved him." I don't know how to thank you." Anita just nodded, breathing hard, her chest still aching from the smoke. It wasn't until later, when the ambulance checked them both for injuries, that she heard it. David, still shaken, whispered to his mother, "Mama, it was Papa who locked my door." 2 words from Madam Adeyemi made Anita's blood run cold. "I know." For a moment, Anita thought she'd misheard. But the look on Madam's face told her she hadn't. It wasn't shock. It wasn't confusion. It was something else, something darker. The fire brigade declared the fire was likely caused by faulty wiring, but Anita's mind kept circling those 2 words. "I know." That night, she couldn't sleep. She replayed the moment in her head over and over. Why would David's father, wealthy, powerful, and respected, lock his own child in a burning room? And why would Madam know and say nothing? The next morning, Anita arrived for work to find the mansion quiet. Too quiet. Normally, the staff bustled about cleaning, cooking, arranging flowers. But today, only the security guard was at the gate. "Everyone's been given the day off," he told her. "Except you. Madam wants to see you." The next morning, Anita arrived for work to find the mansion quiet. Too quiet. Normally, the staff bustled about cleaning, cooking, arranging flowers. But today, only the security guard was at the gate. "Everyone's been given the day off," he told her. Except you. Madam wants to see you. Anita walked in, heart pounding. Madam sat in the living room, dressed in an expensive silk robe, sipping tea. Her eyes were sharp, calculating. You were very brave yesterday, Madam said. You risked your life for my son. I'm grateful. Anita shifted uncomfortably. Anyone would have done the same, Ma. Anita's breath caught in her throat. She wanted to argue, to demand an explanation. But something in Madam's tone warned her, this was dangerous territory. She left the house that day with the money, but her conscience burned hotter than the flames she'd faced. Over the next week, rumors swirled among the staff. Some said Chief Adeyemi had been acting strangely for months. Others whispered about an ongoing divorce battle. A few even hinted that David wasn't really Chief's son. Anita tried to ignore the gossip, but then one night, David came to her in the servants' quarters, clutching a stuffed toy. Auntie Anita, he whispered, Papa doesn't like me. He says I'm not his boy. But Mama says I am. His eyes filled with tears. Why would Papa say that? Anita hugged him tightly, her heart breaking. She didn't have the answer. But she knew one thing, this child was in danger. The next day, Chief Adeyemi returned from a business trip. His presence was heavy, his voice deep and commanding. The staff moved quickly when he was around, avoiding his gaze. Anita kept her head down, but during dinner, she overheard an argument between Chief and Madam. If you keep interfering, I'll make sure he's gone for good. Chief's voice thundered. You wouldn't dare. Madam spat back. Not after what happened last time. Anita's hands shook as she carried a tray of dishes back to the kitchen. Last time. Her instinct screamed that David's life was in real danger. But what could a poor maid do against a man like Chief Adeyemi, wealthy, influential, untouchable? That night, the answer came. Anita was woken by the faint sound of footsteps in the hallway. She peeked out of her room and saw Chief, carrying a small, black bag, heading toward David's room. Her heart raced. Without thinking, she grabbed her phone and crept after him. The door to David's room was slightly ajar. Through the crack, Anita saw Chief standing over the sleeping boy, pulling something from the bag, a pillow. Anita's body moved before her mind could catch up. She burst into the room, shouting, "What are you doing?" Chief froze, his face twisting in rage. "Get out," he barked. Anita's voice trembled but didn't break. "If you touch him, I'll scream so loud the whole neighborhood will wake." For a tense moment, they stared at each other. Then Chief slowly stepped back, sneering. "You don't know what you've gotten yourself into, girl." He pushed past her and left. Anita rushed to David, who was still asleep, unaware of how close he'd come to danger. Tears blurred her vision. She knew she couldn't stay. By morning, Chief would find a way to silence her. She packed her few belongings and woke Madam. "If you love your son," Anita said, "take him away from here tonight. Don't ask me to explain. Just go." Madam's face went pale, but she nodded. Within an hour, she and David were gone. A week later, Anita heard through the grapevine that Madam had filed for divorce and taken David abroad. Chief Adeyemi was furious, but with no one to testify against her, he couldn't stop it. Anita returned to her small, quiet life, the envelope of cash still untouched in her drawer. Sometimes, she wondered if she should have gone to the police. But she also knew the Adeyemi name was powerful, and in Nigeria, power often meant untouchable. Still, when she thought about those two words, "I know," her heart would freeze all over again. Because she knew too. And that knowledge was heavier than any secret she'd ever carried. If you enjoyed my story, please like and subscribe to my channel for more stories at Fun Rock Tales.